Episode of this Python tutorial series. The last episode, we were just talking about try and except statements and how they work and some use cases for them. For this episode, we are talking about something completely different. It's about reading and writing to files and text files and any files that can contain text in them. But we're just going to use text just for today because everyone uses text files. And so let me explain with functions. And so you use the open function. You use open and you put in the path of the file name. So we'll start off by, let's create a variable, just a string variable of the path. So you have it in string format, and what we want to do is we want to get this file from wherever we created it. So I created it on my desktop right here. It's called test.document.txt. It has nothing in it, but we're going to copy this path. We're going to paste it here, and it's called, so we call it test.document.txt. Test.document.txt. And as you can see, when we made this path with these quotes, I remember I explained to you guys that backslash causes problems in strings if you don't format them correctly. So what I do to take these out, and you can see they're changing and they're causing problems because they're turning the text orange. So what I do is I just put an R in front of the text, which just turns everything into real text. And yeah, that's the path. So now that's just a string. So we could just print this path if you'd like, and it just prints the path. And so how we open this path is we first assign it a variable. So a lot of people just go for file equals open path, and there's another argument that we have to put in. So you put it in as a string format, and there's many. There's R, there's W, there's R plus, there's pretty sure there's RB like for read and bytes, but we're just going to be talking about R and W. And so what R does is it reads the file. And that's all it does. W writes to the file, and we're also going to be talking about A, which appends to the file. But let's start on R. R just reads, so you can't write, append, or change any of the text. You're just reading it. And so how you read it is you want to assign the values that you get from reading it into another value. So you go lines or line, for example, or text. Let's just start with text. You go f dot, and there's read line, there's read lines as well. So you go read, and then read, how it does is just it it reads the whole text from top to bottom, not caring about the lines. I have nothing in it, so let's put something in it. We'll just be like line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? And then backslash and a new line like that. And so that's the text document. We could close it if we'd like. We could save it just like that. And then now we could read it. And you want to make sure to put f dot close. Just part of the syntax. And you let's print the text so we can see that it's working. Print text. Now it's reading it, and it stores it all as string format. You can't differentiate unless you use the backslash ends or like the new lines, but that's just reading does. It just reads the whole thing and puts it into one string. Now there's f dot read line. So all that does is it reads each line. And so you print it, line one. And each time you use f dot read line, right? It you can print it again. It just prints the next line, right? You There's the first one, then it prints the second one. That's just what happens with f dot read line. And it just goes line by line, and then until you close it, and then if you reopen it, it starts back up again from the first line. And the one that I use probably the most is f dot read lines. It just it's just a mix of read line and read, but in the same thing. So let's print it. And so this looks a little different than read and read line. It stores each line in a list, in an array. And so the first line is in the first index, the second in the second index, and it goes on until it's finished. It could have thousands, and it could be 1,000 long index array. And I use this so much because you could put it in for loops, and uh, you could do whatever you want with them, and they're all stored in proper values. You could even see the backslash ends, so you could see where there's new lines. So those are the three things you could do with read, and you could store them in uh, variables just like anything else. Read lines stores it as a list, as an array, and the other two, read and read line, stores it as a string. And that's basically it with using R. There's this, we're going to go to append, so A. And what append does is you could write to it. And so you could read lines, you could, and also append to lines. So let's do this. So we're going to open it. And let's say we want to add to this text now instead of read it. So we go f dot write is what we will use. F dot write. I just appended this string or this file. Then we're going to close it. Then we're going to open it back again with a R instead of an A. We're going to go R. And we're just going to say print f dot read just to see that we actually changed it, right? And so we're opening it with A, which stands for append. And I'll explain the difference from append and W in 1 second. But that's it. That's the new file, line 1. And then remember when we finished at line 10, we just wrote this right here, and we're gonna we could keep on doing it if you want. So we just appended this file. We didn't put a \n, so it's still on this same line, right? And so you could open it up here. Boom, it's the same thing. And let's close that. And that's what appending does. All it does is it goes to the bottom of the page, and it just adds new text. And moving on to W, what write does is that it completely deletes whatever text there was. So let's go FW, F dot write. You're still using write, but now you're using W instead of A, right? It's here you could write look, this is the new text document. But now we're using write. And we'll obviously F dot close it. Then we're gonna open it again with the read to see what happens, right? Is it gonna append? What's gonna happen? Can't use write with read. We're just gonna print the lines. Print f dot read. Just like that. So what it does is it opens the file, it deletes everything inside the file when you write with it, and you add to this new text document, right? And this is what you're writing. And so you could keep on writing with this, and once you close it, that's all this text inside is going to be added, right? You could keep doing f dot write, and then once it's closed, that all this text inside is what's added to the text document. And so we could be like \n, this is the second line. Read like that. See, so now this is the new text document. It's completely, everything before is completely deleted. So you have to be careful. You don't want to delete some important information. You have to remember to use A instead of W if you don't want to write to a whole new file. And that's how you use R, A, and W for a file. And there's one more thing you could use with W is if you want to create a new file. So we could say if we want to create a new file with a new path name, we'll go new document name dot text. So we're creating a new file, and you want to create it using W. So if it can't find anything, W is gonna make a new file. And so we could write, we'll just read it like this. This is the new text document we created in this video. So we're gonna run it. Obviously, it's gonna do the text, but now if we look in our folders, we're gonna have test document. Where is it? New document name. And so this is a completely new document we created, then test document. These are two different files, but now we just created it. This was never here before. And so that's how you could use W to create new files as well, and not just write to them. And that's basically it with reading and writing to Python files. This is a very cool thing I use in a lot of my codes, and I'm sure you guys will love it when you practice it yourself. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to conclude it for this episode because it's getting a little lengthy for this type of video. But if you have any questions, just please let me know. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. See you.